Welcome to Storytime with Papa Henry. We are reading the book Captain Daly's Crew at Thunderhead Lake by Craig Massey. And today we're ready to start chapter 6, Atop Thunderhead Mountain. Late that night, I was awakened by a distant motor, and I awakened the others to listen. "It's a red plane taking off," Pudge said, and none of us could disagree. The plane roared right over camp and followed the Snake River. We weren't disturbed during the rest of the night, and when morning came, it was so peaceful, it was hard to believe there was a mystery in the whole wide world. The lake was still and serene. That's a word I learned in school. It means peaceful and pleasant. Along about 9 o'clock, the wardens swooped in with their silver plane, and they sure weren't interested in our report. "No one else has a permit to be up here, so whoever is doing it has broken 2 laws, trespassing and robbery," Dan said. George continued, "Let's go over to the foot of Thunderhead Mountain and see what we can find." "We're going to take an overnight hike up Thunderhead today," Pudge told the men. "Well, how about letting us take you over in the plane, and the captain won't have to use his houseboat," Dan said. "Swell idea!" Pudge exclaimed. But a look of disappointment crossed his face when Dan told him, "It's too short a distance to fly over. We'll just taxi across." We didn't waste much time in gathering our duffel. We decided not to take a tent, but just our waterproof sleeping bags and plenty of food. "Be careful, boys," the captain directed. "Don't take any unnecessary risks, and be waiting for me tomorrow evening, that is. I'll come over in Noah's Ark to bring you back." "Don't you worry none, Captain," Rufus squeaked. "I'll take care of them fellers real good. I ain't afeard of nothing." "Rufus, you're quite a boy," Dan ruffled the straw-colored hair. After we had taxied across the lake, George pointed to a narrow tree-bordered trail that led from the water's edge up the mountain that hugged the shore. "That's an ancient Indian trail, and I advise you to follow it closely, because if you fellows get lost, you might have a job finding your way out. The trail goes to the top and down the other side, and from up there you can see for miles around. There's a little town on the other side of the mountain that used to be famous as a summer resort. There's a store there in case you run out of food. But I warn you again, don't leave the trail on this side. The country's mighty wild." We watched the plane take off, then turned to scale the mountain. We only went a few hundred feet when I felt something touch my hand. I looked down to see Rufus standing beside me. His little face twisted in a funny smile as he squeaked, "Gary, would you mind much if I went to hold your hand?" "Why, Ruth, you aren't afraid, are you?" I asked. As soon as I said it, I was sorry, because the saddest look came into his eyes. "No, it ain't that I'm scared. It's just 'cause I'm sorta. His high voice trailed off. "Sure, you can hold my hand," I said, feeling mean for kidding him. Pudge saw Rufus and exclaimed, "You mean our brave guide is holding onto that fellow's hand?" I gave Pudge a keep still wink, not wanting him to hurt the boy's feelings again. At times, some folks kid a fellow so much about tender personal things that he loses respect for them. I didn't want Rufus to feel that way. The Thunderhead Indian Trail sure was a twister. It wound through lofty pine trees for a spell, then led us out onto a small ledge. From then on, the going was rough. The ledge was so narrow in places, we had to walk Indian file. Indian file means single file. One misstep meant sure death, and I can tell you, Ruth held on mighty tight. "Fellas, come here a second," Chuck called. We saw him studying several markings in the mountain wall. At first I couldn't make it out. It was Slim who discovered something. "Say, those are letters carved in the stone. See, here's an A." Chuck said, "It looks like writing, but I'm not sure." "Hey, Ruth, you've got the best eyes in the gang. Read what it says." Pudge told the little fellow. Rufus got sort of red in the face, and I figured something was wrong. He stuttered, "I can make out some wording, but can't say what it says." It dawned on me like a ton of coal. That little mountain boy couldn't read. I dug in my pocket and found a stubby pencil and handed it to Ruth. "You trace the words in pencil." He began at the top, and we followed his hand as it moved along. Chuck read aloud as the pencil marks came into view. April 6, 1845. 7 prospectors ambushed here by redskins. All killed except me, John Willard. Hid in cave above. Very hungry. "Wowee!" Pudge whistled. "Indians," Slim whispered. "Where's the cave?" Chuck looked up the steep wall. I looked too, but all I could see was plenty of mountain. "There's something up there." "No, now it's gone," Rufus said in a scary voice. I figured it was imagination getting the best of him. If I'd known then what I know now, wow. Slim piped up. "There does seem to be a wide crack in the wall up there. Let's try to get up and investigate." We tried, but the wall was too steep. We gave up after a while and tramped along the trail. At noon, we found an overhanging rock that gave some shade, and we prepared lunch. It turned out to be plenty hard to find wood for a fire because there weren't too many trees on the rugged cliffs. We cooked some hot dogs and beans and opened a can of pears for dessert. Pudge asked the Lord's blessing on the food before we ate, and when he said, "Amen," Rufus asked, "Who was you talking to?" "I thanked the Lord for the food he gave us," Pudge explained gently. "I thought this here food came from camp," Rufus puzzled. "It did," Pudge said. "Then the Lord didn't give it to you," Rufus countered. "Sure he did," Slim broke in. I could see poor Rufus having a hard time understanding, and I guess Chuck saw it too, because he explained, "You see, Rufus, the Lord did give us this food really. These beans were grown on some farm. The Lord had to send the sunshine and the water so they would grow. Same with these hot dogs. This meat came from hogs and cows, and the Lord made them grow. We had to pay money for them, but the Lord gave our dads strength to earn the money. So you see, really everything comes from the Lord, and the Bible tells us we ought to be thankful for everything." Rufus understood, and in a solemn voice he said, "Reckon you're right, only I never heard it afore now." Silently I prayed that Ruth would understand a lot more before we left. The trail continued to be narrow and steep, but we had no trouble reaching the top of the mountain by mid-afternoon. "There's the houseboat," Pudge said, pointing to a tiny white speck on the water away off in the distance. "I can make out tents under those pine trees," Slim added. In the opposite direction, we spotted the little town the game wardens told us about. It seemed to be about 3 miles away. "Say, fellas, let's try to make it down there this afternoon. We could get some ice cream and make it back up again before nightfall," Pudge suggested. "Maybe we could at that," Chuck agreed. And seeing how we were all for it, we decided to try it after a short rest. We flopped down on the barren rock and scanned the country for miles around. We counted 17 lakes and dozens of houses away off in the distance. But most of what we saw was woods, woods, and more woods. "This would be a good place to watch for those explosions," Slim suggested. "You might have a long," I said, but I got no further. Rufus, who had been on the campsite of the mountaintop about 10 or 12 feet from us, let out a terrified scream. With a half sob, he moaned, "Gary! Gary! Somebody's after us! They're coming up the trail with a gun!" The next chapter is called Purple Horses.